Welcome to New Frontier Cast, a podcast that we do every Monday and Friday, just to talk about New Frontier Craft stuff. Now, this is the first podcast, so we're just diving into it and hoping it comes out right. So how these will be organized is I'll first talk about stuff that is relevant for a while. The second little part that I talk will be current events. And then I'll be joined by a guest for the last half of the podcast. So let's dive into it with 1.8.6. There's been a lot of confusion of what the current plan for the future is. I've heard even moderators talking about like what's in 1.8.6 or like the industrial update. Some people think the industrial update is 1.8.6, but that's not the case. The industrial update is a big update. 1.8.6 is just the immediate next update, and the plan for that is for it to be a graphical update, and our second coder, Onyx, will be adding in a point system. So, because the Optifine creator decided that I cannot use his beta 1.7.3 Optifine, I don't know why. I don't know how it benefits him to keep that to himself, but he said I could not use it in New Frontier Craft, at least integrated. I could make New Frontier Craft like kind of be compatible with Optifine, but that would make the install more stupid, and I'm not going to do that yet. And I think I could just create my own Optifine. So that's what 1.8.6 will be, to be able to make New Frontier Craft run better on older computers, and maybe even beef up the graphics in some areas. One thing I'm definitely going to be doing is making it more compatible with texture packs, because beta 1.7.3 needs that MC Patcher thing back in the day, because higher resolution texture packs didn't always work. So I will make my own version of that also for 1.8.6. I'm not entirely sure what Onyx is planning to do with the point system, but I like the idea. It's just like killing mobs will add points, and you'll see all the points you've collected on your death. It's a broken thing in beta. You always see the points after you've died, and it just shows a bunch of random symbols. That will actually be implemented in 1.8.6. Now, next let's talk about the future 1.8 version. So before the industrial update. The industrial update is 1.9. Probably the thing that will immediately come after 1.8.6, which will be 1.8.7, will be a farming and food update. So farming is going to be a little bit harder, and gaining food will be a little bit easier, at least off animals, because currently only pigs drop food, and I'm going to have it so that more animals drop food, but at the same time farming will be changed, and it's likely going to become harder. Because, for one thing, I believe that the way sugarcane reproduces, I mean, you can just fill up bays with sugarcane, and it grows like crazy, and I think it's completely overpowered. What I'll basically be doing, just to give you an example of what might happen in the farming update, is make sugarcane have to be able to grow on farmland. Or at least, if you put it on dirt, it's not going to grow very well. Another thing that's going to change in the farmland update is I think just instantly growing food with bone meal is a little bit overpowered. So what I'll be doing is you can fertilize farmland by putting bone meal into a certain piece of farmland, and that farmland will cause whatever crop on it to grow faster. And you can put multiple bone meal in one piece of farmland. So if you really want to grow something very quickly, you just chuck all the bone meal in that piece of farmland. And whenever a plant completely grows, it'll like take away from the bone meal that's in the farmland, but not all of it. So you can grow a bunch of stuff off of one piece of farmland if you just fertilize the crap out of it. But eventually it'll go down in terms of how fast stuff grows on that one block. And you can just apply this to a whole bunch of fields, and that's how farming will probably work. That's our current idea. Next couple of updates in 1.8 will be a thing that just kind of circles around survival, specifically health, probably sprinting, and we definitely have to iron some ideas out there, because sprinting made the game a little too fast and a little too crazy and modern. So we got to have some balances there. I believe what I'll be doing is a stamina bar, Another aspect of the survival that we'll be modifying is it's going to revolve around health, fighting, and then sprinting. So the basic intentions with player health will be the player will be harder to kill. I'll probably be giving the player more health so that the hearts won't be split up into half hearts, but they'll also be quarter hearts. But when you do die, it's going to be bad. Some of the stuff you drop might totally disappear. I've had the idea of if you have it in like a hard mode, the spawn actually changes in single player. So then you have to find your way back. It won't change that much, but it will change a decent amount, so it's not like you just keep spawning in the same area after dying. Ideas like that, again, it sounds hard, and there's definitely going to be some balancing procedures here. The fact that your player is going to be harder to kill is going to be a big bonus in your hands. So it's not like you'll be... Another thing I want to do is that when you do die, it's bad in the fact that you can't just kill yourself and get full hearts again. You'll respawn with quarter of your health. So then it's not like if you have a heart and it's like, oh, I'll just kill myself and regain all my hearts. That's not going to happen anymore. But because of this change, it's likely that you're not going to die as often, which I think makes more sense. You'll actually be surviving for long periods of time at a time. Large changes in terms of fighting will be weapons. I'll be giving the swords different abilities, mostly since we've got so many different swords from the different metals in the game. So swords will have stats like knockback, their reach, their swing speed, on top of damage and durability, which is what they have right now. And just because of those two stats, I have to make them tier specific at the moment, but in the future they will not be. They will be free from tiers. Armor will get some changes. I'll just add in one extra stat so that they're not tier specific either, which will be their weight. So some of them will make you slower and it'll make you not able to sprint. I'll also be adding in something, probably an anvil, so then you can tweak the stats of the armor and your tools. And you can also repair. I'll probably have the anvil do some repairing for tools. And throughout those 1.8 updates, I'll be sprinkling in some new dungeons, some new structures that generate. I'll be trying to add in, for the static structure generator, books that will be generated with little stories inside them. And through that, I believe I'll add in lore to the game of some form. Not much, but some. So then let's get into the actual industrial update, New Frontiercraft 1.9. And there's still a lot of ideas that we have to iron out here because this is a big update. I mean, it'll be kind of like Industrial Craft, but in an older age to fit Minecraft a little bit more. So this will include some basic electricity. I'll be changing how lighting works a little bit. You'll have machines that can automatically do things for you, but you'll have to do a lot of setting up to make that happen. It's not like you'll just create a machine that just automatically mines everything with just a couple of resources. No, it's going to be hard to make stuff like that. But you can make stuff like that. I'm going to be giving a lot more uses for minecarts in the industrial update, so that minecarts will be the main source of transporting stuff around. I think the pipes idea in Technicraft is cool, but I think just it being Minecraft, I'm going to make minecarts do that instead. And with the industrial update, uses for the different metals in the game is going to be there. You'll be building all kinds of crazy stuff, kind of accurate to real life in a sense, because you'll be building motors out of copper and magnets and stuff like that. So I think that's going to be fun. And all the metals will actually have a purpose by that point. And further out from that update, 1.9 point whatever updates are going to be some additional biomes. I'll probably add in some big bad dungeons, not just a static dungeon, but really explorable dungeons. In fact, there might be a decent update within 1.9 that might be considered a major update. So maybe just 1.10 will be an adventure update where I add in big and fun conquerable dungeons. And looking beyond that, we'll probably have updates that include like an anti-nether is what I've been calling it, or basically a heaven update to contrast to nether. Very few ideas have been put down for this, so I can't really say much about it. And I'll probably be adding in some new mobs. That'll probably need a lot of testing. I do want to add in a ghost. Not a ghast, but a ghost, an overworld ghost, to make things a little bit spookier at the surface. It'll be kind of rare. It'll be kind of like my Enderman, because it'll have weird physics and just will not act very logically. And I think that'll be cool. And there's nothing off the top of my head outside of the really big, what I will call the ultimate update, that I don't speak of because it's so far ahead. I mean, it's been one of my best ideas for Minecraft that I've ever had. But I just don't speak about it because it's so far ahead. I don't want us to get amped about it, and if I do speak about it, someone might take the idea and run with it, and then, well, there goes my idea. So, current events, and I'll go through these briefly because we don't have much. I mostly spoke about them in the previous video. I'm making an installer. That's the main priority right now. So once... hopefully I'll have that by the end of the week. I'm just going to have to really dig into how to use zip files with Java. And the garden build for the server. If you don't know about that, watch the previous video, the 100 subscribers video. It's a contest. I might show off your build if you win it. But the second contest is going to be bigger after this, because this one only lasts until Wednesday. And I believe that's all. So our first guest on the podcast is Indiechief. So how's it going, Indy?
Good. This is the second take after my audio didn't record. Oh.
I forgot to record the audio for Indy, so we're retaking this. But Indy is he was the guy who suggested the podcast in the first place, so he's the guinea pig.
So, I'm the guinea pig now. But yeah, I think this will be interesting. At least I like podcasts because I can just throw it in the background as sort of background noise and listen to two people go back and forth about ideas of anything. So
yeah, I think this is gonna be really cool.
Yeah,
I might even listen to it myself again at one point, just be like, yeah, I
just to listen.
So Indy and I have recorded before. His voice might be familiar. He recorded with me in A New Frontier way back when.
Yeah, it was like
ancient,
a year ago.
Like 1.7.8 New Frontier craft for the actual
way back, yeah.
Actual metals update. So fire away with your questions.
Okay, questions. So one of the things you brought up was the type of like farming update with new foods and everything, and I think that would be interesting to call it like a horticultural update.
What exactly does that word mean?
So horticultural, how do I even explain it? Basically, it's sort of like a lot of people that have been into horticultural are sort of like they get into landscaping businesses and stuff.
Oh.
But not like, I mean, you could be like, the dude that you hired that like mows your lawn or something. But you can get like landscaping, like really nice stuff, like, trimming hedges perfectly, like lawn art type of things, taking care of flowers.
I guess that's not quite farming.
Yeah, well, it's like sort of
maybe agricultural is
agricultural. Maybe is better. I don't know.
Yeah, that's not farming.
There's a horticultural major that you can do at my school, and we have a big garden, and that I go to every now and then just to hang out. And they have lots of flowers, like a rose garden and stuff. They have a bee. They like bee boxes and they collect honey from it and everything.
Yeah,
it's really
I guess
interesting.
we were talking about adding in flowers, or at least maybe just a few. I know modern Minecraft's added in quite a lot. I'm just gonna add in a few, and to balance that, I want to add in a bunch of new plants that you can find that give you actual food. So like You know, I might add in a purple flower, but I might also add in a blueberry bush or just blueberry plant or.
I
Are they
think that would
bushes? I
be
think they're
very
bushes.
cool, like
Yeah,
blueberry, strawberry, stuff like that. Blackberry bushes, I think would be really interesting and sort of like add some color to the game
yeah.
as
That
well as
that, that was
maybe.
actually the main uh, what would I call it? Inspiration for that is New Frontier Craft. New Frontier Terra Firma Craft. In
Yeah,
Terra Firma Craft, you have just stuff that spawns randomly in the wild, like wheat. Wheat will spawn randomly in the wild on grass,
I
and
think that's really interesting actually, and you can like collect those seeds. That's something I
yeah,
really
that's
like about
basically how you collect the
terraforming.
seeds and grow new plants. So I think that's I'll kind of be adding that in the New Frontier Craft. So wheat, I think I want to add in wheat in the wild too,
W-
that you can find.
I think was it cattails? No, how do you say cattails?
Yeah, cattails.
Yeah, I think those would be really cool too,
You know what? You could.
and like how they spawn in water
Uh,
maybe.
I wonder if you could make the brown dye out of that. I don't know if it wouldn't be cocoa beans, but um,
Oh, that would
maybe,
be kind of interesting actually.
yeah, because currently cocoa beans are just limited to dungeons in beta.
Or
So
yeah, or
uh,
getting brown wool is just you got to find a brown sheep or something.
yeah, another
So
aspect of the farming update we spoke about was uh, how to grow stuff now. So as we said, basically you can plant stuff in the grass. I'm going to make it able to be planted in the grass now. It's just the grass will not grow anything quick at all. The way plants grow will be determined by the metadata of the block that it's on, and farmland will have metadata. So what will happen is you use bone meal on the farmland instead of the plant, and the farmland will become more fertilized, and then that farmland will grow stuff faster.
hmm
And I believe that
I
was
I
basically it.
like that idea a lot.
Yeah,
Um,
and then I'll be doing that for multiple stuff like sugarcane. That's so overpowered right now. You can just have fields of it. Well, not
yeah,
fields, but bays of sugarcane,
I
and it
mean
just gets
it
it's
grows ridiculously fast.
yeah. So it'll still you could still place it on the grass. It's just not going to grow very much. Um,
Yeah.
so
What was the and then the idea of having different tools, maybe, or having making the hoe more useful with harvesting
yeah,
plants.
basically making that the gardening tool. So instead of it just being used to hoe up the dirt, it'll also be used to harvest the plants. So having more durability is going to be a lot nicer because then it's not like you have to make a whole bunch of stone hoes and go out
Yeah,
there.
you
Let's,
have a better use for like a diamond hoe or something, or like some sort of gem tool. Because
yeah,
at that
because
moment, like
those will
stone.
basically just last forever.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Because right now they're tier specific, and I don't know quite. I don't really know what else to do. Another interesting thing about this is automatic farms might have to change because you couldn't just make water flow out and
Oh,
destroy the
that's
wheat.
true. Actually, I didn't
So
even think
we'd
of
have
that.
to think maybe sometimes it would actually give you wheat, but not all the time. In fact, maybe that's what I could do for tiers. The higher tiers will give you a higher chance of harvesting the wheat. So then
That's interesting,
there would
actually.
be
Yeah.
more incentive for getting the higher tier hose. Um,
Exactly, yeah. I think that's something that definitely needs to be into consideration, like when, going further into each update, like how is it going to affect everything else? And
yeah, that's
so,
kind of how it's been for 1.8.4 and 1.8.5 with
yeah,
generating
yeah.
these ores. Just trying to think of when would I use this in the future and how much would I use it.
Yeah, and how,
So,
yeah. I
um,
like the idea of what you said before too about adding some sort of type of like electricity maybe. One thing I mentioned to space that I thought might be a cool idea is having the ability to maybe like dye redstone something, or like have basically make wire, right, but it's different colors. So you know how if you just lay redstone down next to each other it all connects. So if you had like
oh,
color coded redstone
oh,
or like different colored wires that you could place them next to each other on blocks, but they won't connect to each other
yeah,
unless they're the
that's
same color. And I feel like that could
That's an
allow
incredible
for,
idea, to be honest. Like,
yeah, like I think
that's an amazing idea.
it could be really cool for
That
like
that will
creating
make smaller
small
redstone contraptions will
exactly.
be so much more efficient with that.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's an
Yeah,
idea that came out of a podcast.
yeah.
Do it.
So what was the other and
The heaven
machines too. Oh yeah,
the
yeah,
heaven
yeah.
update was the other thing we spoke about. Um, what all was it? We were yeah. You go ahead.
Basically, the idea of having it so that you don't want to spend too much time there, because you know you could have it so that only passive mobs spawn there. But how do you make it so that it's not just an end game goal for people to get there and then have no challenge? So
Yeah.
how
So
do you make it so that people can't just live there forever?
currently, our idea is that the only thing that spawns in the heaven dimension will be gems. Um, It'll also be basically in the sky. So below it will be the void, and that will
Mhm.
be the one way you die outside of falling hard in the heaven. But
I like that
the one
idea
thing
too.
that will make the overworld more appealing is that in the heaven dimension things will be slower. So
Yeah,
it's not like your stamina bar will basically be always at 0. You will never be able to sprint. You'll just be walking in the heaven dimension. Um, I guess I could just make the tools in general just a little bit slower.
yeah.
Well, not
I,
just a little bit, but slower.
well, I like the idea of definitely having things be slower and maybe not work as efficiently. And I also like the idea of only having gems, because that kind of forces you to go back to the overworld, because
Yeah.
you can't just go into a portal in that case, right? Like if I had nothing on me, I can't go into the portal and start building things because there's only gems that spawn. Like I can't even collect that stuff. So you have to go into the overworld and make, like steel tools or something. Work your way up like that, and then
Yeah.
be able to get the gems.
Yeah. And also, I actually have no idea how I'm going to make. I've been thinking about it for a little while, but I have no idea how I'm going to make the heaven dimension portal. I just haven't
Yeah,
had an
like
idea
how
for
would it
that quite
be
yet.
crafted or something? I think it would be maybe interesting to what's the mod that
The best
um
idea I've had so
na-
far is gold blocks, because they're uncommon enough that
Mhm.
it's going to be kind of hard.
That'd be cool. I like the way, I think it's Natura. Is it that mod where you make the portal out of flowers or something?
Oh, I have no idea.
And then you go, I like that concept, but not making it out of flowers, making it out of something like, I don't know, like, the nether is obsidian. It's very dark, right? So
Yeah.
like the heaven biome thing or whatever
Yeah, I
you
mean,
want to
I
even
guess
call it.
the gold portal would be very bright. In fact,
Gold, yeah.
I could make if we make the portal out of gold blocks, we could make the inside like a white swirly thing that's like really bright and gives off its own light.
Oh, yeah, that would be really cool, actually. I
Um,
like that idea. Or even having, I don't know, some sort of, that would give gold more of a use too.
yeah, currently gold in New Frontier Craft is almost useless. It's rare.
Gold would be interesting to use for machines too, actually.
Yeah, I don't really know where I'd use it there quite yet, but I mean, if I encounter a machine I want to add in and it uses gold somewhere, I'd totally do that.
Yeah. No, that would definitely be interesting. Um, One thing, oh, is it you touched on some sort of like point system too? Can
Oh,
you?
that was Onyx. Let's wrap it up quick though.
Okay.
Um, I actually have no idea. Onyx is just doing his own thing, and I'm not opposed to it. He's just, our basic agreement is that Onyx half the time will make stuff for me, and the other half of the time will code in his own thing as long as I approve of it. And he's like, I'll add into point system. It's like, sure.
Interesting.
It'll give a little bit of incentive to not die, because then you'll have more points. But I mean,
Yeah.
he just wants to add a point system. I see no reason why not. So that's what he's doing.
One last thing that we brought up quickly in the first
Okay.
time recording this. More passive mobs. Things
Yeah.
like bears, maybe bees. I don't
Maybe a
know.
bear.
Deer. I don't like. What's your thoughts?
I do also want to make passive mobs more passive, like actually run away from you.
Yeah, I
almost at
like
all times,
that.
like just roam away from you, at least. Maybe not always run away from you, but at least roam away from you. So then you have to go out searching for mobs.
I have a quick question too, because this is something I thought about a little while ago. It's kind of, um, in modern now, passive mobs don't despawn, so you can have them in, barns or whatever and
Yeah,
keep them caged up. Whereas now you can't really do that. Like you can, push them into a barn and stuff, but as soon as you log off the server for a little while or whatever, they're gonna just eventually disappear.
yeah.
Would you be would you be interested in making it so they don't despawn so you can keep
I
them
would
in?
be. I think that would be cool. I think what I would do is instead of in modern, what they have is if you kill mobs within a chunk, they won't spawn in that chunk anymore.
Oh,
Is their current system. So that's not like you can go around just kill everything and
that's
just wait for
interesting. I
everything to
didn't know that.
respawn.
So you don't want to.
And
That's
I
cool.
don't want to do that because if you
No.
kill a lot of pigs in an area, then you're not
Then
going to
they.
find pigs there anymore.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. I
it
sort of.
is an interesting concept, but I don't like it.
Okay.
So what I'll be doing is I might just have it so that mobs spawn less, but you can keep them. You can keep them to reproduce mobs in your own area, but you're not going to be finding mobs very often in the wilderness.
That would be interesting, actually. Yeah, and then having that like sound update to sort of fill the quietness, like where
Yeah, the
you
quietness of Minecraft.
hear birds in
Yeah,
the background or something.
I guess we'll have to talk about that more in a different podcast. Says we're definitely out of time now. So,
All right.
all right. Well, nice doing a podcast with you.
You too. Thanks for having me. I hope everybody enjoyed this, and you
Yep.
can just play it in the background while you're doing something.
Yep. And I hope to see you on that